Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. Today is the 19th of June. Welcome to episode 14 of the Groovy Podcast with me, Peter Ledbrook, casting from London, England.
And me, Ken Cousin, podcasting from Marlborough, Connecticut, actually home, despite United's best efforts to prevent that.
And me, Baruch, podcasting from Santa Clara, where I am now permanently resident and very excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like half of Gradle and JFrog have moved to California, the Silicon Valley area. It's a beautiful place. I actually think I almost considered moving there once. So yeah, good on you guys. I hope you enjoy your time there. And I'm glad you managed to survive United Airlines. I'm not a big fan of them myself, Ken. But
oh man, I was stuck in Charleston, South Carolina last night, and they delayed, and then they canceled the flight, and I've been up since 4 a.m. this morning. Just made it back in time for the podcast, and of course that's the important thing. So.
Yes, excellent. And as long as you don't fall asleep because you were up at 4 o'clock this morning.
I slept on the plane, man. So.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I can never do that. Anyway, so it is middle of summer. July is almost upon us, so things are kind of usually quiet around this time. So a few items of interest. I think we've got just enough news to give you some stuff to discuss over coffee with your partners and children and whoever else you discuss things with over coffee. So first things first, Groovy 244, the release is currently in the works. If you've been wondering what's happening there, it's the first release, I believe, under the aegises of the Apache project. And so it's hitting various roadblocks. Well, not roadblocks as such, little sleeping policemen, as we call them in the UK. They're little bumps in the road that try to slow the traffic down. So there are various issues around the source release because you're not allowed binary jar files. So anything with compiled classes, you can't really include in a source distribution. And one of the tests or a bundle of tests require this jar file to run. So anyway, I think they've resolved that one. They're resolving another one about documentation and the license on that. Fingers crossed. Every future release will go much more smoothly as the whole process gets nailed down on this one. So it will come in this soon-ish, I'm sure.
And shortly after, it'll be on GVM, presumably.
Yes, if it's still called GVM.
He's still referring to it that way, and there was an update, in fact, for GVM to handle some SSL certificate issues as well. Did you notice that?
Well, I noticed there was a 242, I think.
Right.
Which
right. I think you can do
week.
I think it's a self-update or something like that, command or whatever.
Yeah.
Mine says there's no update available, but you know.
But the Twitter account is called SDK Manager, so I think he's preparing the way for that final rename. I'm not sure when it will happen, so we'll see.
I got to say, I'm still sad about that. I like the name GVM. I don't want to lose it. I don't mind also having SDK Manager, but oh well.
Well, don't worry.
Yeah.
Anything that's really liked, the names always stay. Like at best efforts companies make, they try to change names, and it just doesn't happen. So
well, it happened to Gradle. It happened to Gradle.
Right. That's another big news item. I didn't know if you want to do that next or we'll get to that later. Is the fact that Gradleware is now Gradle, and their website will be Gradle.com instead of Gradleware.
Oh, it is Gradle.com already.
Well,
there is a website.
Yeah, so it's Gradle Inc. Changing the name of a company is easier than changing the name of a product that people have. So I can't see them changing the name of Gradle and it being picked up very easily. But yeah, so this new logo, which has an elephant in it, and I
got my elephant here. This is from the Gradle Summit there. The angry Gradle Fent, as everybody was referring to it. I see the eye, looks like he's mad. But there is, if you see very closely, a little bird in there who seems to be happy. So this is your enterprise build tool creating or building happiness for the bird, but that's about all I got out of it so far.
Okay,
So
so the angry elephant is the enterprise, and the little happy bird makes everyone happy in the enterprise.
Well, officially, I'm not sure because there was some discussions about it, but it's not officially released yet. And I know there's going to be a lot of discussions in general. But Hans Doctor, he was at the summit. He seemed pretty happy about it. Uh, I don't know. I think, maybe it's angry because, as I mentioned, it's only got 3 legs. The poor elephant there. But I don't know if they've talked to the Hadoop people or to the, well, who else? Evernote, I guess. And who else uses an elephant? There's like 3 of them, right?
And there is Twitter inside the Hadoop or something.
Yeah, and then a Twitter bird inside the. I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, by the way, that's what always turns out to be an issue when a company changes its name to match the name of the software. They sometimes run into legal issues that just take time for them to work out. I mean, that's what happened with what's it, Tengen that became MongoDB.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was one, and there was another one that when a company decides to change its name to match the software product, sometimes they get all kinds of problems with their trademarks and patents and stuff like that. But I assume they've worked all that out with Gradle. I'm going to have a tough time not calling it Gradleware, though, for a while.
yeah, I think I may have the same issue. But Gradle, at least, I can't imagine there being many conflicts. It's kind of unique.
No, it's only between the company name and the product. That's all. That's where the legal issues come. Is that you want one set of legal issues for the product and one for the company, and now if they both have the same name, there's sometimes possibility of confusion or problems or whatever.
Oh, okay. So I have to say, I saw that logo. I didn't notice the eye, so I didn't realize it was an angry elephant. But I love the way its trunk curls around the G of Gradle.
They also call it.
I think that's cute.
I think even I asked Hans if the elephant had a name, and he was saying that people were calling it Gradlefant, Gradlefont, something like that. I'm still not sure how to pronounce it. I was thinking, Horton for an elephant, that's already been taken, right?
Yeah.
Now here's a who, but you could call it Tim, as in Tim Horton. I mean, that's a Canadian joke. Nah, never mind. It was.
Yeah, that's not working on me. Sorry.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm definitely looking forward to finding out, what the reasoning behind that logo is and see it roll out completely. Because it's, I think it's nice in the way that the old logo is very quite clinical. Well, it's technical. It's a circle and looks sort of gearish and other stuff. So having a nice, friendly or not so friendly elephant makes it more approachable. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, enough on the. I think there are going to be lots of discussions on the Gradle logo when that finally rolls out fully.
Yep.
Yeah, we just spent half of the podcast discussing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's that bike shed issue. We're familiar with bike shed issues, aren't we? Everybody has an opinion. Okay, so much more important news is that Groovy in Action 2nd edition finally went into print and apparently got shipped. So go on, Ken, show us.
I'm ready for my selfie. Here's my Regina selfie here. I just got home, and darn if it wasn't sitting on the table. I probably ordered it 4 years ago for all that. But there we go. I guess I have to take a picture and post it to Twitter, right? Groovy in Action 1st edition was, and to this day remains, my favorite technical book ever. So I've been really looking forward to this. Now, I've been reading individual chapters out of the PDF or the ebook for a while now. It's nice to actually have the official, doorstop book, all 900. Actually, it's only about 870 pages. I thought it was over 900, but it's big and fat. I'm really glad to have it.
Yeah, so when the EAP was announced, the early access was announced, I thought about ordering the paper book because by that time, it was many years ago, I actually used paper books. But now it doesn't make any sense because I don't have any paper book. So I of course have it in PDF, but it just, for me, it shows how long it took. I remember thinking about ordering a paper book, and for me now it's like, why would I do that?
Well, because some things are just easier to read in paper. It's just easier to hold and to browse through pieces of it. I mean, whereas with the PDF, you've got to You can only see the one screen at a time. You get a sense of length and I don't know. I like books. It's like, what do they say? A book is a successful solution to a particular problem, and it's not like they're ever going to go away because it's an extraordinarily successful answer to that difficulty. Now, developers like the ebooks because they like to be able to search on it, and they like to be able to carry their library wherever they are. So I do things like, I mean, any book I really like, I get both.
Yeah. So last week, I actually, my last day in Israel, I actually gave like 2 huge boxes of books away to the library. And that's all. Now I'm officially paperless.
Yeah, last time, 2 years ago, when Making Java Groovy finally came out, and they shipped a bunch of copies to the Spring 1.2 GX conference, which I was going to use to give away, and I pulled out the very first copy I'd ever had in my hands, and I'm looking at it and I'm going like, this is it? I mean, all those years, it's like half the size of this book, and it just didn't feel like it had the heft of the others, but so be it. I'm just really glad to have it. So anyway, the book's out. Peter, you're looking forward to yours, I'm sure.
Yes, I'll quickly put the order in.
And also your practical Groovy you're going to print that up at some point, right?
I'm not sure. So there was never really intention to do a print version. It was always designed to be a book that would be open alongside while you're coding. Something you're coding and you just have a PDF open at the same time.
Yeah, Mr. Hockey's books are all just leanpub PDFs. You grab those, and then of course one of the ones I deal with on a lot is an Android book called the Busy Coder's Guide to Android, and it's 3,200 pages.
Okay, so that's why somebody's busy.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what the not busy coder's guide would look like. But at any rate, you never print that one. It's just always a PDF, and he updates it every 6 to 8 weeks, and just keeps adding more and more and more. So it's huge.
Yeah, that's perfect. I actually thought that the reason the Groovy in Action second edition took so long is that the authors didn't want to finalize it because then they wouldn't be able to update it. That was my conspiracy theory, why it took so long.
Potentially. Anyway, it is with us now, so
yes.
If you're a Groovy developer, like me, definitely recommend putting in your order as soon as you can. Okay, so more news items. Grails 3.02 has been released, so sort of bug fixes, a few other things. I think the big issue with Grails at the 3 at the moment, of course, is the plugins. So we've added a link which will take you to a page which gives you a table of the current plugins and their status as to whether they've been upgraded for Grails 3 or not yet. So I just saw that the Mail plugin actually is now available as a release candidate, 2.0.0 RC1.
Good.
So that was one of the critical plugins. So there are other critical ones. I think Spring Security and Shiro on the security front still don't have version 3 yet. But of course, because Grails is so close to Spring Boot now, you can use Spring Boot libraries that have Spring Boot initializers.
Yeah, and then so that's good. I mean, the plugins are supposedly making their way over, and apparently each person who updates their plugin claims that it's really not that much work to do the conversion. Have you heard something similar?
I haven't heard, but I assume that is the case because it's really just binary packaging for runtime plugins. However, Shiro and Spring Security, they have build-related stuff as well as runtime stuff, and those more complex ones, database migration was always going to be hard because it actually has build stuff, but it also needs to run up a Grails instance in order to do diffs between GORM and a database without starting up the whole application. So those kinds of things were kind of difficult. So, but a lot of things. I mean, Mail should really have been just fairly straightforward.
I hit a problem this week with Grails 2 with the plugins. I tweeted about it. It was that apparently the default Grails plugin repo is not working anymore. I assume that maybe that went to Codehouse or something, But in order for me to find any of the Grails 2 plugins from within my Grails app, I had to add the Maven repo at repo.grails.org, which I presume is an Artifactory one, right?
Yeah, I think it still is.
Yeah, so I had to manually add that to my build.gradle file in order to find the plugins.
So that's using list plugins command, I take it.
No, I was just trying to. I pasted in a dependency for, say, the Google Visualization plugin, and kept getting unresolved errors. So I had to add that Maven repo into the plugins section because otherwise it was not finding any of the plugins I tried to add, not the console plugin, not Google Visualization, not anything else.
Okay, I've not seen that.
I just tweeted about it. It makes me a little concerned because I did a Grails class a couple of weeks ago, and we couldn't get to the plugins, and I thought it was a firewall problem. But this week I was at a school, and they didn't have a firewall that was going to block anything. So when it wasn't able to get it, I thought, wait a minute, there's something bigger going on, and that's when I found out that if you added the actual plugin repo directly, then it worked. I'll put something in the show notes, or maybe I'll put up a short blog post about that.
Okay, cool. So one other thing with the Grails 3.0.2 release that went out on GVM, it was also interesting to see Spring Boot 1.3.0 Milestone 1 was also released on GVM, and I think there was a shout out from Marco, the guy behind GVM, because I think they've now made that as part of their release process. So when they build and release and publish a new version of Spring Boot, it automatically gets published to GVM. So I think that's cool.
That's cool.
So I think, unfortunately, none of us were at GreatConf EU, so we don't have much to say about that conference. So it was last week, was it, or the week before?
The week before.
The week before. So, but fortunately, Jen Strater has done a write-up, and we've put a link in there. So find out what sort of things were being talked about and discussed at the conference. Head that way and have a read. So thank you to Jen Strater for giving us that.
And Guillaume did. Several people have already posted their slides online in Speaker Deck and things like that. Guillaume did his keynote on what was coming in Groovy, and he already posted those slides. And that, I believe, his keynote was recorded, although it hasn't been released yet. Jeff Brown did a Grails one that turned out not to be recorded, but I don't know that anything came out of that talk that is going to change anything that we're thinking about with Grails. Did you hear anything?
No, afraid not.
I don't remember any major announcements other than the move to OCI. Oh, which reminds me, right, with OCI, as we noticed that Dave Klein, he and his boy Ben are the authors of Grails 2, a quick start guide, which is not just a great beginner book on Grails. I think it's like one of the best beginner books on anything they've ever read. At any rate, Dave Klein has apparently joined OCI to work on Grails, and so has Colin Harrington as well. So that's very nice to see that they're expanding their people. They're very interested in working much more on Grails. It's good to see the support.
Yeah, that's definitely good news. So soon after the move across, so that's 4 people now, isn't it?
Although the irony is that later it's Ben Klein who joined, of all places, Pivotal. Did you see that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, to work on DevOps related stuff. To work on Cloud Foundry. Because that's kind of what Pivotal has done, right? Again, it's kind of my interpretation, but Pivotal's gone all in on Cloud Foundry, on DevOps, and the developers are the ones who are kind of, not necessarily favored anymore. So I, in the midst of all the congratulations to Ben, I was tempted to say, so, how do you feel about this? And I thought, nah, just wait and see how it plays out. I don't want to give him a hard time about it, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes over in the long run.
Yeah, so I was in Pivotal offices in Palo Alto yesterday. They had a New Relic meetup host, so I gave there a little presentation about Artifactory and New Relic. But being there, I spoke with Roman, who is in charge of open source in Pivotal now. So of course I did give him a hard time about Groovy and everything, and he mentioned that Pivotal now is Cloud Foundry and everything else, when this everything else get more and more neglected and smaller and pay less attention to it. So Pivotal is about Cloud Foundry first, and all the rest second, if not third.
Okay, I think it's heavy into big data as well. Green Plum plus Spring XD on top of that. So I was discussing with someone in training this week is whether how guaranteed the continued support of Spring itself is going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, Cloud Foundry is definitely a big part. If you say less focus on developers, I think they would argue not so, because one of the reasons for Cloud Foundry is to make developers' lives easier in terms of the whole deployment process. So whether you agree with that or not, I just thought I'd throw that out there. But then again, I was on the Cloud Foundry developer advocate team, so
Didn't know that. Okay, never mind.
I'm not offended by anything, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. Okay, so yeah, that's great news for Grails. Definitely shows that OCI have some intent to really support the framework. So that's all very good. So as well as GreatConf EU a couple of weeks ago, there was the Gradle Summit last week. I was supposed to be there speaking. Unfortunately, I pulled out of that. But fortunately, Ken was there, if only briefly. So come on, Ken, what was the juicy gossip of the day?
Well, apparently the big talk that everybody kept referring to afterwards was Luke Daly's talk about the new build model. They've been doing all this extra work in order to optimize the build model so that they don't have to construct the entire model even when all you say is Gradle help, just to find out what's available, or even Gradle tasks. There's a real delay when they build the whole thing. This build model looks very powerful and sophisticated, and is going to wind up having a lot of caching capabilities as well. I know cache invalidation is considered one of those really hard problems, is when to update a cache. But they've done an extraordinary amount of work, which is all really going to be about performance. So this was a big talk that was given. Everybody said if you missed the talk, it's worth it to watch the video on that. I don't know when the videos will be coming out, but I expect it will be relatively soon. The model itself, I saw some pieces of it, but it got complicated quickly, so it kind of got over my head. I didn't get the sense, though, that this is coming out next week. I get the feeling that this is something they're going to be working on for the next several versions. I mean, I think between now and even the end of the year, they're really going to be grinding away, making this into something very, very powerful. The other thing that
sounds like major version for me.
I'm sorry, major what?
Major version for Gradle.
Yeah, it'll be a big version jump, no question. One of the other things that was interesting to me, I don't know how interesting it was to everybody else, is that now they're doing, well, in Android they support the NDK stuff, but what the part that other people cared about is that Gradle is now doing well with C and C++. So that they're hoping to have that as a build tool for alternative languages as well, and they're very excited about that support. And I don't know what the status of build tools is over there. The last time I wrote anything in C++, I was still using a makefile, so I don't know what they do these days.
Yeah, well, if you're not on scones, you ultimately use a makefile for C and C++ anyway. I've been through various build tools. I'm happy to have left C++ behind, but I think the native platform support has been one of the big drivers for this whole new configuration model, the new build model. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that video if it does become available, because I'd like to see the details of it. I was kind of mistakenly under the impression that Gradle 2.4 introduced some early parts of that, but it wasn't. The 2.4 was just performance improvements unrelated to this new configuration model. So we shall keep our hold on to our suspenders until they eventually release it.
Yeah. So between that and the discussion of the new company name and the icon, which was, believe me, the subject of constant discussion throughout the conference, that's pretty much the big news that I got out of the Gradle Summit. I will say, by the way, it was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of really friendly people, all working on interesting things. It was good to see Cedric was there. Cedric Champeau was, even though he wasn't giving a talk, and of course, Luke had made the trip all the way up from Australia. It was good to see him as well. So it was just a lot of fun to go to that conference.
And were some of the ex-Londonites there? Because Rob Fletcher was there.
Oh yeah, Rob was there. Absolutely. I didn't get to talk to him, but I saw him around.
Okay. Was Thomas Lynn there?
I didn't see him, but I don't know if he was there or not.
Okay, they probably banned him. He's a troublemaker. Anyway,
Right.
having slandered Thomas.
now
No, Thomas is a good guy. I like him.
So clearly, after this podcast, we're going to hear from Dave and Ben Klein. We're going to hear from Thomas Lynn. We're going to hear from. I mean, we're just racking them up now, right?
Yeah. I think this could be the last episode. So, before we do go, I just wanted to one last news item. Apparently, according to Dan Developer, they the Rat Pack team have already started discussions on Rat Pack 2. And in case you missed it, yes, Gradle Rat Pack 1.0 hasn't yet been released. So we shall see. We shall see what happens on that front. So hopefully we're looking forward to a 1.0 release in the near future, possibly after the summer break.
But
anyway,
one last thing. If you do want to be entertained, make sure you find Dan Woods' LinkedIn profile, right?
Oh, yeah, that's great. It is so good.
His LinkedIn profile. Yes, he's responsible for all sorts of disasters. So take a look.
We'll have to add that to the show notes then.
Right.
Okay, so thanks very much everyone for listening. If you have any feedback, then let us know. Ping us on Twitter or our Google Plus page. Or if you know any of our email addresses, then feel free to email us as well. Okay, so thanks very much from me, Peter, and from the rest of the gang. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Take care.